Hello everyone, I'm Casper Kuma and welcome back to It Gets So Lonely here. So we only have one route left and that's the shore, so that's what we're doing today. I believe this is the last route you can do unless there's like a secret fourth option, but I think this is it. So you want to go to the shore. Good idea. What will you discover there, I wonder? This night is far from over and there are a number of adventures still awaiting you. I hope that you have prepared yourself in advance, and I do hope, for your sake, that you have learnt how to swim. I have a sneaking suspicion that the skill might come in handy. Nice. You will follow the path which leads to the shore, supporting yourself on weary, aching limbs which feel ready to snap at the knee beneath the burden of your weight. You are a little more than the wisp of a girl, but you have been running for so very long and your feet are so very numb you feel like a great lumbering thing. You need to lie down, and quickly. You only hope, as you continue to run, that you'll find a means to escape your current predicament by the shore. You do not know what awaits you, but you have visions of a harbor extending out to the horizon, cradling a fleet of white-sailed fishing vessels. Surely there will be a kindly fisherman who will be willing to take you far, far away on his boat to a place where your pursuer will not be able to find you. We haven't gotten much information on our pursuer. You'd think that they'd, like, be able to find us somehow and show up in all these stories, but they've basically disappeared most of the time, it seems. It's weird. You can imagine, too, the face of this kindly fisherman, a face you have lifted from fairy tales you read in abundance as a small child. He will have thick, bushy eyebrows and a dark brown beard streaked through with gray. He will look intimidating at a glance, but he will be fiercely protective of you, just like a father. You do not know what fathers are supposed to be like. You're only imagining. It is your imagination, however, which grants you the strength needed to keep going. You run to the shore. It takes some time before you finally emerge from the woods, but finally you do it. How much time, you ask? I cannot answer that. Did I not say that time had begun to lose all its meaning? The forest is beneath you now, at least, and all the awful nightmares that lurk within it. It is still cold, though, and still foggy. It is still dark, too. The sun has yet to rise. Can you hear my dog barking? I hope not. You might be able to. We'll see if he stops. If not, I'll stop him. You can see the moon more clearly now as it hangs above your head, round as any pearl or orb or crystal ball. Okay, I don't think he's stopping anytime soon. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Oh, there's like singing. Interesting. The moonlight shines down upon the vertiginous cliffs, well, that's a weird one, which plummet sharply downwards to an array of sharp, spiky rocks below. You felt, upon escaping the woods, a degree of hope, but the sight of these weathered blasted cliffs gives you a pause. You inhale. Then you frown. Now what are you to do? You did not think this plan of yours through very well. Not that you had much in the way of a plan in the first place. There's little in the way of civilization here. The cliffs are far from the village. How far? You do not know, and you cannot see any houses. Where exactly will you rest your weary head, and what of your weary legs? Fitfully, you look around. There's nobody to your east, nor is there anybody to your west. There's no point in looking south, that is the way you came, and when you look to the north, the world falls away from you. The cliffs are too steep to scale, and it's too dark. Naturally, there's not a soul here to help you. You are on your own. You feel so overwhelmed you could very well cry. You do not cry, however. You know that tears have never helped anyone. You got yourself into this mess, now you need to get yourself out of it. It is with this thought in mind that you inhale a lungful of salty oceanic air. Then you begin your exploration in earnest. You keep away from the edge of the cliffs, afraid that you might slip and take a sudden, unfortunate tumble into the abyss below. You are not as attached to your mortal body as some humans are, but you do not want to die. You still care for yourself, if only a little, and it is this sense of self-preservation which compels you onwards. You glance this way and that, depressing the tall grass beneath your shoes, and as you search for a place of shelter. Surely there must be somewhere. You cannot see any likely-looking settlements, but... what is that over yonder? Could that be a roof? You hurry onwards, hope budding anew in your heart, until at long last you reach your destination. There's a house after all, out here in the wilds, though it doesn't at a glance look very welcoming. The solitary house that you have discovered, not so far from the cliffs, is rather unremarkable. It is so small and squat that you cannot imagine it contains within it more than one floor. You cannot even imagine that it contains much more than one room. Though it is dark, it is not dark enough to mask that the cottage has something of a slant to it. It is leaning listlessly to one side like a drunken sailor. The thatched roof, meanwhile, which tops this dwelling, has certainly seen better days. There's a hole in the thatch, and there are several holes, in fact, and parts of it look particularly bare, almost bald. That is rather concerning. Should it rain, you will not be properly protected from the elements. Can you really stay the night in such a place? I mean, rather than being protected from the elements, I'd be more concerned about it collapsing while you're inside, but, you know, whatever. You have some misgivings. But do your misgivings matter, really, when there's nowhere else to go? It is not as though you have any other options. It is with a sense of defeat, therefore, that you approach the cottage, which sticks out of the earth like a tombstone. Part of you wants to turn back, but you know that would be foolish. The windows of the cottage are dark, but that does not necessarily mean it is empty. It is rather late at night, after all. Whoever lives here, if indeed anybody does live here, might be asleep. You cannot imagine the owners of this cottage will appreciate being roused so very late at night. You cannot let yourself worry too much about these small details, however. Otherwise, you will never get anywhere. You swallow. The taste of salty sea breeze is pungent in the back of your nostrils. Then you rap your knuckles of your right fist on the door. You rap quietly at first, but you do not hear any resultant shuffling inside the cottage. Perhaps you did not use enough strength. Emboldened, you rap your knuckles on the door for a second time, more loudly this time. I mean, it's got a whole bunch of holes in it. I feel like you could just kind of peek through the cracks and see that there's absolutely nobody in this thing, right? You wait for a few moments, but still you cannot hear anything. Perhaps the cottage is unoccupied after all. You knock for a third time, then wait. The third time is, as they say, the charm, but for all that, your knocking goes unanswered. Well, nobody can say that you did not try. More intrigued now than anxious, your fingers find the handle of the door. You pull it down, and to your surprise, it yields easily. The door swings back for you, as if by magic. It feels almost as if this was preordained. What is that? Is that like something bloody on the wall on the left? I don't know what that is. You step inside the cottage, which is very dark, and glance around. It's hard to see, given the lateness of the hour, but the cottage's interior is about as inspiring as its exterior. Which is to say, not very. It is every bit as small and as cramped as you fancied when you observed it from the outside. There are a few cupboards which line the walls, a wood fire which has since been extinguished, and a straw pallet on the floor which must function as a bed. Your search is unsuccessful, however, when it comes to trying to locate other humans. You cannot find another soul. Surely that is to your benefit, though. If nobody else lives here, then you might as well make yourself at home. Or as at home one can be, I suppose, in a small, cramped cottage such as this, with holes in the roof. You close the door behind you, then approach the straw pallet. All of a sudden, you feel incredibly weary. The tiredness that assails your limbs is absolute, so intense it overcomes the last of your concerns. You settle down upon the straw pallet, yawning as you do. It is not comfortable, but being able to lie down eases some of your aches and pains. Lying down, even on an uncomfortable makeshift bed such as this one, is better than standing. It is far, far better than running. Your eyelids fall shut and your lashes melting together, and soothed by the sounds of the wind, the distant rolling of the waves, you fall asleep. Then you begin to dream. It is not uncommon, of course, to dream. The best and the worst of us do it, from queens in their castles to peasants sleeping in the straw. Why, who's to say that all you've observed tonight has not, in a sense, been a dream of its own? What would that make your nighttime fancies, then? A dream inside of a dream? Perhaps our dreams are empty, hollow things stacked inside one another like little wooden dolls. Is that not a whimsical thought? How very droll. Your dreams, however, cannot be called whimsical, and neither are they particularly droll. They are not pure fabrications, as dreams sometimes are, fleeting fancies which can never come to pass. Your dreams are of a rather pernicious sort. In your dreams, you are at the conservatoire, with your red hair tied back into two prim, proper braids. You're walking through the courtyard, clutching your books to your chest as you make your way to the library. Your head is bowed so as not to look at the faces of your passing classmates. You do not want to meet their eyes. These girls, with their sensible braids and sensible shoes, are merciless. You hunch your shoulders together in this dream of yours so that as to not draw their attention, but alas, it is not enough. You stumble, clumsy thing that you are, and you fall, and just like that all eyes are upon you. They're staring at you. They're laughing at you. You lay there on the ground by the fountain, your books scattered and your skirt in a woeful state of disarray. Your knee hurts. Is it bleeding? You examine your injured leg, trying not to cry, and as this transpires, you hear a voice. One of your classmates is calling out to you. She has acknowledged you. You look up shyly, tears beating in your eyes as at the girl taller than you and prettier and much more refined. She extends her hand towards you. Does she mean to help you? It cannot hurt to try, can it? Hesitantly, you reach out to accept her offered aid. Her fingers curl around yours tightly, perhaps too tightly. Her nails dig into your skin. It hurts. Deftly, the girl pulls you to your feet. Your legs feel weak from your fall, and your knee is still aching, still bleeding. You stumble, feeling out of sorts, but you are not afforded much of an opportunity to gather your bearings. The girl's hands are on your shoulders. She's laughing at you. Then she's pushing you. The sound of the fountain and the running water which drums against its basin and is all of a sudden very loud, is overwhelming. It surrounds you. Then it engulfs you. It is cold as ice. You cannot breathe. The rushing of the water continues, echoing in your eardrums over and over, and then... No. You not want to remember this. What good will it do? It is in the past, where the past ought to remain. You are never going to go back, not even in your dreams. It is the determination which forces you back into the world of the waking with the start. You gasp like a fish as you sit upright, your eyes unnaturally wide. You feel wearied from the lack of sleep, and with half-lidded eyes, you glance about. It's still dark inside your cottage, the sky visible from beyond the windows splashed still with stars. How long were you asleep? You're not sure. Your dreams were so very detailed, it really did feel like you had been transported into a different time, into a different place. So here's my theory. Like, I think we've dreamed of us getting bullied in every single one of these routes so far, right? I'm wondering, like, if all these routes are actually just a dream. Because, I mean, we keep returning to the beginning of this path. And I'm thinking, maybe we're, like, in a coma or something? Maybe we, like, try to commit suicide, perhaps? If we're being bullied so severely in, like, the real world? We might be kind of, like, stuck in this state right now, and which would explain why each time we go through it, we kind of die at the end, but I don't know. Well, I guess we'll keep going. When you inhale, you can taste rank, foetid water in your mouth. That sounds disgusting. Tentatively, you pat yourself down, your fingers trailing against the front of your uniform. So vivid was your dream, you half expect to find that your clothes are damp. This is not the case, however. You are, in fact, perfectly dry. Well, now what are you to do? Will you go back to sleep? That sounds like the best option option available to you. You are very tired, but your senses feel too overwrought all of a sudden for sleep. You do not think you could bear it. On unsteady legs, you rise to your feet, then stand by the window. You look out to the starry sky and to the pitted moon which hangs amongst them, and you frown. You can hear the wind outdoors howling like an injured animal, and more softly, the ebb and flow of the waves as they meet the cliffs. But that is not all. What is that sound? Why is it almost like singing? The voice is far away enough that you cannot pick out any individual words, nor even the individual syllables, but there's a haunting quality to it all. The singer, whoever they are, possesses quite the pretty voice, high and clear like a bell. The song is a melancholy one which stirs your heart. Curiosity takes root inside you, as it did during the fateful day you found that book in the library. Logically, you know you should not go outdoors to seek the source of that singing, but emotionally? That is another matter altogether. You really should have learnt your lesson by now. You should know better than to go sticking your nose into businesses which do not concern you. But naughty little girls such as you never do learn. You cross the old fisherman's cottage as though in a dream, then reach for the handle of the door. The handle depresses easily enough beneath your grasping fingers and the door opens with a click. We're definitely getting lured by a siren or something. This isn't good. The rest of the world yawns before you, framed in the doorway, all of it bathed in the moonlight. You thought it was cold inside the old cottage, but it's colder still now that the door is open. An unpleasant wind rushes forth to meet you, knifing mercilessly through the fabric of your uniform. As you look across cold, inhospitable landscape, your fingers clenched into fists at your sides, then you step out into the unknown. You canvass the cliff face, led by nothing more than that luxurious singing. So haunting and ethereal is this voice, as it hangs on the breeze, it'd be enough to send 1,000 ships off to war. You keep walking into the night until you reach the very edge of the cliffs, where they drop downwards into the empty air. You ought not go any further, but the voice has yet to cease. You can still hear it echoing inside your head. It compels you to act. You look down at the shore, which seems like a dizzying distance away, then out to the ocean, which is breaking against the scattered rocks below. Your eyes narrow with determination. Then you take a step towards the cliff. These cliffs are steep and the rocks below them are sharp. You can see them glinting in the darkness, their tips jagged like the teeth of hungry predators. The cold wind blows, rocking your hair, and you shudder from it. Your shoes were not built for scaling cliffs, and your heels do not have much in the way of purchase, particularly not when the cliffs are so steep. Clinging to the cliffs is no small feat, yet you are determined to ease yourself down onto the shore, in one piece preferably. The wind is so powerful it feels as though there's something deliberately malicious to it. You wonder during your descent if it means to knock you off your perch on purpose, to cast you down to the rocks below. Well, if that's what it wants, then you refuse to give it the satisfaction. You can be awfully stubborn at times, but now is one of them. You continue to climb. How long have you been at it now? Until at long last your feet meet the shoreline below. You've made it, and you did not sustain too many injuries. Your palms are throbbing, yes, but after gripping those rocks and you might have a few cuts, but your wounds are of a shallow and superficial sort. Things could have been worse. You flex your fingers, they feel uncomfortably numb and cold alongside it. Your skin is prickling, but at least you can still feel discomfort? Why would that be a good thing? I don't know. At least it's still attached to your bones, where it ought to be. Your vital organs concealed with the hollow cavity of your body. Okay. You have a lot to be thankful for. This night has, by and large, been quite successful. There are no longer any obstacles between you and the mysterious voice which lulled you outdoors. Now you must find them. You set off down the shore on the hunt of a singing voice which has captivated you so. You sidestep sharp, jagged rocks which jut out of the sand like teeth. The rocks which cannot be circumnavigated, meanwhile, you clamber over. All the while, the sound of sea mingles with that of the singing. It provides an ethereal, haunting backdrop to your exploration, one which further adds the surreality of your moonlight stroll. The waves lap against the shore, then recede shyly, pushed and pulled by the bleached white moon which hangs overhead. The oceans that you have seen in your library books were all blue as sapphires, but this ocean is different. It's so late at night, it looks black instead. The undulating surface of the water reminds you of a mirror, though its depths are even deeper and much more mysterious. A sense of foreboding settles upon you, but you try to quash it. You will not let yourself be afraid. You round the corner, your feet unsteady in their sensible brown shoes, and then at long last you see her. Oh yeah, that's definitely a siren. There's a woman sitting upon a rock out in the ocean. The woman's eyes are closed and her lips are parted, her expression soulful. She's singing. Her hair, which is fair, flutters around her face like a shroud, which adds to her otherworldly aura. Her eyes might be closed, but her lashes are long and luxuriant, like a doll's. Her lips, meanwhile, which are parted in song, are soft, like the freshly plucked flowers of like the freshly plucked petals of a flower. Her face is perfect, as are her proportions. Her neck is tall and slender, like the stem of a flower. As for the lower half of her body, meanwhile, well, is nothing like anything you've ever seen before. She's got cake! It is here, and here alone, that the woman betrays your narrow human definitions of beauty, for her legs are non-existent. Rather than two awkward appendages, this woman has, instead, the sleek, shimmering tail of a fish. Is she not then a human? She cannot be, not with a tail like that. This unusual sight makes you gasp, and quite audibly at that. You do not mean to be rude, but you cannot help yourself. Humans tend to react poorly to things that they do not understand. At least you did not scream, that would be even ruder. Oh my. You meant to observe the mermaid from a distance, but it would appear that your shocked gasp was loud enough to attract her attention. The fish-tailed vision sitting upon the rock is looking at you. Her gaze is so piercing it feels almost as if she is looking through you. Your heart seems to stop inside your chest, as if by some manner of magical spell. You thought the mermaid pretty when you first observed her, sitting on the outcrop of a rock, her face turned in profile. Now she's looking at you, however, and you can see that you were mistaken. She's not just pretty. She's beautiful, so much so that it's almost unnerving. She looks as though she has stepped out of the pages of a picture book. She's simply too perfect to belong to this world. Perhaps she's some kind of vision, a waking dream, a hallucination? But no, she's none of those things. Her tail might be an impossible thing, but its scales look slick and wet regardless, like those of any fishes one might find in a market. These scales are iridescent and bathed beneath the light of the moon, they seem almost to glow. The sight of her rather takes your breath away. You look at the mermaid. She looks back at you. You prepare yourself, expecting some sort of altercation. But the surprise soon fades from the mermaid's face. Her lips, which were once pursed in a frown, now shift upwards. She's smiling. Then she says in a refined sort of voice, My, it is really good to see a human again, particularly a human girl. I was beginning to fear that your kind had all disappeared, and I would no longer have anybody left to tell me of the world above the waters. My, this is quite the effusive greeting. The mermaid's introductory speech is positively brimming with excitement of a sweet girlish variety. She's rather more amicable than the fine polish of her syllables, which would make one suggest. You might be a well-bred lady yourself, with an accent to match, but you cannot help but feel overwhelmed. I thought we were a peasant before. What happened to that storyline? Well-bred. Maybe we're like a middle-class peasant? Anxiously, you observe the mermaid and you ask her what she means. What happened? As to that, I am afraid I cannot say. I have been sitting on these rocks and singing for many, many nights, but nobody has come to see me. There have been no lovely humans for me to play with. I was beginning to wonder whether your kind had disappeared altogether. I feared some manner of calamity had occurred while I was slumbering beneath the water's surface, and your kind had been eradicated. You shudder, then reassure the mermaid to the contrary. You do not know about the humans that she used to speak with, but you at least have not been eradicated. You are still here. Yes, well, I can see that, the mermaid answers with a light laugh. It is my relief. My fellow merpeople who live beneath the water told me not to worry so, but I cannot not help myself. I have always been fond of you humans. It was rather sobering sitting here night after night all by my own. It gets so lonely here. Roll the credits. Now that is an interesting turn of phrase. It catches inside your head like a burr. Have you heard it before? Like, twice by now. So, dear human, did you say that you are unfamiliar with these parts? Hesitantly examine the mermaid. Thoughtless though you may be, at times you are not very self-centered that you cannot detect the note of longing in the mermaid's voice. It is evident as she looks at you that she's hoping for a particular answer to her query. This answer, alas, is not one that you can furnish her with. You do not want to lie to her. It is after some hesitation, therefore, that you reaffirm your earlier words, though this time you embellish them. You tell the mermaid that you are a traveler from far-off land, one which is very dissimilar to this one. It is not a complete fabrication. You tell her that you have only just arrived at by the shore, and you are unfamiliar both with your immediate surroundings and those further afield. If there is a village nearby, then you have never set foot in it. You do not know what this village is like, nor how many inhabitants it boasts. You do not know if a calamity, as the mermaid grimly supposed, has struck this land. But if she fears all humans within the immediate vicinity have been laid low by some mysterious malady, then she needn't worry overly on that score. You're still alive. Are you not, you wonder, enough to satiate her curiosity with the human realm? Yes, that is true. You are here. I am grateful, naturally, for your company. Although... Although? Wistfully, the mermaid sighs. I was rather hoping you might be able to bring me some news of the nearby village, and of its inhabitants. This makes you wonder. Was there a particular person from this village she was so close to? So, you were able to work that much out, the mermaid answers with a small smile. You are an intelligent one, aren't you? Your past professors would beg to differ on that score. You were always awful when it came to academics, mathematics in particular. You can never get your head around all those numbers. Your stern, stony-faced math professor used to despair in you. But she is not here. None of them are here. It's just you now and the mermaid, and she does not need to know about your dismal academic record. You allow yourself a small smile, touched by her compliment, and tell her that it was nothing more than a lucky guess. For a guess, it was remarkably accurate. You're quite right. I did have a close friend from the nearby village. She's very dear to me. Internally, you congratulate yourself on this piece of detective work. How very clever you are. There are many humans in this world that I know. The human who spoke to me, with me, however, she was special. She was my human. You did not fail to catch the possessive note in the mermaid's voice. And I cherished her dearly. She would come to me on my rock, late at night, when she was finished with her chores, and we would talk. I asked her a good number of questions about the human realm, and about her customs. I fear my endless inquiries must have been rather tedious, but she was always happy to indulge me. She never once scorned me for my ignorance, and neither did she make me feel like a fool. She always made time for me, no matter how many demands she had on her time. She was a farmer's daughter, and she was awfully busy from dawn until dusk, threshing hay and taking the animals out to pasture. She told me of her work, and I marveled at her. Slender though she was, she possessed a truly tremendous amount of strength. I, who have lived in the ocean all my life, cannot countenance working as hard as she did, but she bore her burdens without complaining. She was not the prettiest human who had walked this earth, but that mattered not to me. Her conversation was engaging, and I knew, through our continued encounters, that she meant no ill will. She did not have even a single drop of malice in her heart. The wistful manner in which the mermaid speaks of her friend makes you feel, for a few brief moments, a flicker of some ugly primordial emotion. Could it be jealousy? It's painful, isn't it, to hear others wax poetic about those they hold dear, particularly when you yourself have never been regarded in so intimate a manner. You have for many, many years been woefully alone. But you're not alone now. You're with the mermaid, and she's with you. And though she might prefer the company of an industrious farmhand, the farmhand is not here. Where did she go? Oh, if only I knew. She simply disappeared one day, almost as if she's been whisked away by a wicked spirit. That seems quite the anticlimactic ending for such a close relationship. Did the farmhand not tell her companion beforehand that she might one day disappear? No, she did not. Nothing of the sort happened, and it was all very sudden. So, you ask, feeling affronted upon the mermaid's behalf, did she not give you any warning? Not a single one. And when, you ask, did she disappear? I do not know, in truth. Time is a strange concept to being such as myself, particularly as it seems to ebb and flow differently both above and below the surface. You humans have a strange compulsion to pin down and to place labels upon everything. You have names for your seasons, and for your months, and even for your days of the week. It is all very precise. We merfolk, however, do not bother with such affairs, perhaps because we have lived so much longer than you humans do. We do not need to obsessively document our days, not when we have so many of them at our disposal. This curious remark catches your attention. How long exactly do mermaids live for? The mermaid does not look much older than you do, but you cannot help but wonder. My, nosy, aren't we? The mermaid asks as she laughs, a soft tinkling sound like that of a bell which makes you blush. Were you being nosy? Perhaps you were. You have always had a thirst for knowledge, not of the dry, dusty academic variety, but of stories peopled with strange persons. Blah, that was a weird... strange persons, okay. Literature is the only subject you were ever good at. Again, it is hard for me to quantify, but to put it in terms of a human like you can understand, I suppose we mermaids can live for centuries. Centuries? That's quite the surprise. Perhaps it shouldn't be. You have been subjected to any number of surprises tonight. What is one more to add to the pile? I have not been waiting quite that long, however, for my friend to return to me. I think it has been but a few seasons. It might not sound like much, but... Never before have I been so aware of the passage of time. I've experienced any number of once during my life, but I have never wanted anything quite as badly as I want to see her. I wish she would sit with me, and she would talk to me just one more time. Perhaps I am asking for an impossibility. I have been waiting for long enough now to presume that she will no longer be returning to me. I fear that something must have happened to her, or to her family, or perhaps to her whole village. You can hear the worry throbbing in the mermaid's voice, so potent that for a few moments you swear you can feel the depths of her sorrow within your breasts. Her sadness over this human girl is a deep, dark thing, almost fathomless. You cannot let yourself indulge in it for too long. Otherwise you fear you might drown in it. Ruefully, you tell that mermaid once more that you cannot help her. You are only a traveler, after all. What do you know of a single, insignificant farmhand in a nearby village? Well, maybe don't say that in those exact words to her. I don't know who your stupid, insignificant little friend is. I'm a traveler. It's a little harsh, man. Yes, I thought you might say that. It was quite unfortunate, but... well... oh well. I ought not to reflect upon all that I am missing. That would be churlish of me, and it would not be fair to you either. You did not approach me, I am sure, with the hope of hearing about all my woes. I should be grateful instead for all it is that I do have. I still have my long, long life, which stretches before me like a golden cord, and of course I have you now. Does she? Do I not? I have to go soon, before my absence is noticed, but will you not come and visit me again tomorrow night? I think I would like that. I've always enjoyed speaking to humans. You make me feel less alone. I cannot help but feel, as the mermaid observes you with those enchanting eyes of hers, that she does not truly wish to speak to you for your sake. She wants to use you, instead, as a substitute for the farmhand that she has been missing so very ardently. The thought stings, though you really ought to be used to it. Still, to be held in lower esteem than a farmhand of all things. We're very rude. What the hell, man? It makes your self-esteem sting. You try not to let the mermaid notice this, though. The woes of your past are not her fault, much as the woes of her past are not yours. It is silly, in any case, to be jealous of a girl who might very well be dead. That is what you tell yourself. It is the only way to prop up your bruised sense of self-worth. You would, you tell the mermaid after a pause, like to see her again. You would like that very much. Oh, thank you. I've been feeling very gloomy for quite some time, but seeing you has invigorated me. Finally, it feels as though I can smile again. Did she not smile, you wonder, after her friend disappeared? I did not, no. I did have the heart. Without her... I did not have the heart. Without her, the world seemed very dull and drab. Your company has cheered me up immensely. This is why I like humans so much. You are not callous and unfeeling like the merfolk who live beneath the water's surface. You are much kinder than they are. Oh, if only she knew. If the mermaid was aware, I wonder, of how petty you are and how jealous would she still care for you? Well, that is neither here nor there. You agree to meet with the mermaid come Sunday the following night. Then you make your slow, stumbling way back up the cliffs and then to the cottage you have purloined as your own. Once indoors, you settle down on your pallet, and then you close your eyes. The sighing of the wind outside and the distant rolling of waves against the rocks do not disturb you. You feel, after your midnight encounter of a marish kind, quite at ease, perhaps prematurely so. What happened to the icy fear which prompted your frantic flight through the forest? Where has all that gone? Do you not think you are being a bit complacent? No? Oh well. You will. The following morning, when it arrives, is cloudy and overcast. It is not particularly a pleasant morning, but at least it is not raining. That is some small consolation. You rise from your straw pallet, stretching, then glance about the interior of the fisherman's cottage. It looked dilapidated last night, when much of it was obscured by the shadows, but looks even more so when subjected to the morning's light. The cottage's interior has this distinct, disquieting appearance of having been abandoned in a hurry. There is broken pottery strewn about upon the ground, and a singular wooden chair, which once must have stood by the singular wooden table, is lying on the floor. The doors of the cupboards, meanwhile, are ajar, the shelves within depressingly bare. A quick search reveals a handful of edibles, but there is a precious little to be getting on with. If you wish to live here comfortably, you will have to look into foraging. You ate very little last night, and your stomach is empty. It was the malcontented rumblings of your stomach, in actual fact, which rose you from your slumber. But your body seems to be very far away indeed, much like the grey clouds which choke the sky. You're not thinking of your own physical discomforts. You're dwelling, instead, upon the events of the night prior. You cannot help but think of the mermaid. Did you truly meet an aquatic maiden last night during your nightly stroll when you could not sleep? It sounds unreal, especially now that the sun has risen and the shadows from the night prior have disappeared. You cannot quite believe it. It must have been a dream. But why, then, can you recall it so clearly? You help yourself to the scant food and drink available to you, all the while thinking of your next course of action. Now what are you to do? You plan, of course, to return to the shore come nightfall so that you might once again see the mermaid, but the night will not arrive for quite some time. You need to find some means of keeping yourself occupied until then. The uninspiring interior of the cottage does not furnish you with any particular ideas, so you decide to go on a walk. Your soul still aches after your excursions last night, but you go slowly. You ought to be alright. That is what you hope, at least. You do not want to spend much longer than you have in the fisherman's cottage, no matter how cold it might be outdoors. It is almost as cold inside as is out, and in any case, the cottage is far too small. You leave the cottage behind you and set off. You do not know where exactly you are going, but you suppose it does not matter overly much. You do not have any particular destination in mind. Your meanderings lead you to the cliffs, which are steep and sharp. The drop to the shore is a perilous one, so much so that you have to wonder how you were able to descend the cliffs the night prior to meet the mermaid. You're rather more determined than you ever realized. I mean, couldn't you just, like, it looks like it's not that bad of a slope. Couldn't you, like, gently go down the, like, shorter sides here to the beach, and then skirt your way around the sides to where the mermaid is? I don't know. I feel like we're putting more effort into this than we actually need to. Though I, of course, could have told you that much. You're surprisingly capricious for such a small, slender human. You walk along the side of the cliffs, keeping a sensible distance away from the drop to the shore. You might have survived last night's excitement unscathed, but you did not fancy trying your luck. It'd be so like you, really, to avoid a drop to your death in the darkness only to stumble during the morning's light and take an irreversible tumble. Your fortunes have never been the fairest. Your meanderings along the cliff reveal to you all manner of curious flora. You thought the night prior that the cliffs were weather-blasted, but now you can see that your assumptions were incorrect. There are flowers here, very warm and bright, like the sun's light during the summertime. Or, you think, with a flush of pleasure, the fair hair of the mermaid whom you are certain you spoke to last night. These flowers are so very like her hair it's uncanny. You step towards the flowers, drawn towards them, and sink down to your knees. The tall grass brushes your ankles like a caress, the morning dew wetting your skirt. Your clothes are getting damp, and so are your legs, but you care not for this minor discomfort. You have just had an idea. Why not make a gift for your new friend? You're sure that she would appreciate it, why would she not? She told you in a voice which steeped with dolor that she had been feeling lonely. You want to see her again, and when you next see her, you would like to make her smile. It is with this thought in mind that you begin to pick flowers which are growing upon the cliffside. These flowers do not have any thorns, and their delicate stems snap easily between your fingers. You take care when plucking these flowers to leave a substantial amount of stem intact. You will need these stems so that you might entwine the flowers together. You mean to make your mermaid a diadem, something she will be able to wear in her hair. That's just a flower crown, right? This tiara is certain to suit her. She is so pretty, anything would suit her. You continue to work, slow and steadfast, as the weak sun shines. It takes time, but you are eventually able to fashion something you are satisfied with. You only hope the mermaid will feel similarly, if indeed she really does exist. Carefully, you pocket your makeshift diadem, and then decide to forage for some food. You discover, during your search, some fruit trees whose sweet burdens are enough to fortify your spirits. For the present, at least. It's fortunate, really, that you're so excited about your moonlight rendezvous with the mermaid. If you were less focused upon the future and dwelt more on the immediate present, you might have more of an appetite. The emptiness of your stomach is assuaged, you return to the cottage, whereat you mean to wait for the setting of the sun. There's very little to do, you soon discover, in the cottage, other than checking the cupboards and sweeping the floor, occupations which both feel depressingly pointless. There are no books to read either, with which you might pass your time, your idle hours. You do, however, busy yourself with trying to light a fire so that you might ward off the cold. The time is horribly slow in passing, in part because you have precious little to do, but also because you cannot stop thinking of the mermaid. Will she really return to the shore as she said she would? Can you truly trust her? Oh, you hope that you can. If she were not present at your designated meeting place, you think you would die from disappointment. The seconds continue to trickle by, unchecked by an hourglass, and as they do, the sun sinks beneath the horizon. Part of you worries, however, that it might still be too early to search for the mermaid. Will she be there yet? You sit there, your stomach tied up in anxious knots, and as you listen to the wind which buffets your window, you hear it. The sound is faint, but you recall it well from the night before. There's a single solitary voice outdoors, tempest-tossed amidst the rolling waves. The voice is a high, clear one, silverly, if indeed voices could have colors, like a finely polished dinner plate in a noblewoman's home. The voice belongs, of course, to the mermaid. Who else do you know with a voice as angelic as that? Relief begins to bubble up inside you, a relief so potent you feel dizzy from it. She had not abandoned you after all. Why, you wonder, did you ever think she would? She said that she wanted to see you. You think that a mere nicety? Buoyed, as if by a gentle breeze, you hurry to the door. With trembling fingers, they are trembling, I presume, from the excitement rather than fear, you seize the handle, then turn it. Then you step out into the dark, inky night. You walk towards the cliffs, as you did the night prior, beneath the cover of the inky blue sky, then the wind moaning fitfully with every step you take. Your soul still aches from your expedition the day prior, but you are able to ignore the discomfort. It seems relevant, really, when compared to the prospect of once again meeting the mermaid. You have known her only for one night, yet she has come to mean more to you than your own well-being. You would do anything for the mermaid's sake if she asked for it. Well, almost anything. You hurry down the sharp incline of cliffs to the shore, almost stumbling in your scuffed brown shoes, which really were not built with rock climbing in mind. So frantic are you in your attempts to once again make the mermaid's acquaintance, you very nearly fall. It's a good thing that you still have enough sense about you to regain your footing. Otherwise, this tale would come to a premature end. Eventually, you make your way to the shore, then approach the jagged outcrop of the rock whereat you last saw the mermaid. Like the night prior, the mermaid is perched upon these rocks, her fair hair strewn about her shoulders. When she sees you from across the shore, she ceases her singing and her eyes light up. Or at least they seem to. So you've returned to me, my hero, the mermaid says, and then lightly she giggles, or perhaps should I say my heroine. Her praise makes you blush. You do not feel worthy of it. Nobody has ever called you a heroine before. You do not even think of yourself as a heroine. If a story were made about you, you rather think that you'd be a supporting character, one without her own voice. You're not interesting enough. The mermaid seems to think you are, though. She's staring at you delightedly, as though you are the one person in the world that she most wishes to speak to. Uh-oh. Where'd the game go? The thought makes you tremble, but not as much as the mermaid's gaze. You tell the mermaid that you do not think you are so very brave, but she dismisses your awkward remark with a laugh. I think you are. I saw the way you scaled those cliffs. I thought that was very heroic. Oh, so she saw that, did she? Then, did she see how you slipped down the cliffs, grazing your palms in the process, and how you very nearly died? Or fell? I don't know why I said died. You have never been the most graceful of girls, but to have your failings exposed before you as being poised and as perfect as a mermaid, it stings a little bit more, in fact, than your resultant grazes on your palms and your clumsiness rot you. You tell the mermaid that there was nothing so very heroic about all of that. You were simply excited, that is all, to see her again. You weren't thinking, well, that makes two of us. I was excited to see you again. She was? Naturally. I had a very good time speaking to you last night. I had hoped that we might resume our correspondence. That is why I came to these rocks a bit earlier than usual. I was waiting for you. Did you hear my song? Yes, you reply with a nod of your head. You heard it, all the way to in the abandoned cottage. It called out to you. That was the general idea. I was singing for you. She was? You do not think you are worthy of the mermaid's song, but if she does not mind dedicating her voice to you, then... Well, who else would I dedicate my voice to? There's nobody else to hear me. That is a good point, you suppose. Shyly, you look back at the mermaid. You thank her for her song. It's very beautiful, then tell her, before you can lose your nerve, that you have prepared a present for her too. Oh, have you really? You have. It is a small thing, nothing more than a silly trinket, but if it would not be too much of an imposition, then... With clumsy fingers you reach into your pocket. For a few moments you fret that your near fall down the cliff might have damaged the delicate chain nestled within it, but your worries are in vain. The chain is surprisingly sturdy, given it was made with only a few flowers, and it has held firm against the odds. You handle the chain with great care all the same, however, as you hold it out, presenting it for the mermaid's approbation. It was for the mermaid that you fashioned this chain. You thought it would look nice nestled in her hair. You were pleased with the chain when you first made it, but after looking at the mermaid you have begun to reconsider. The mermaid's beauty is otherworldly, so much so it almost hurts to look at her. Your flower crown, by comparison, seems a very meager offering indeed. The longer you hold your gift out, the more unworthy it feels. You have half a mind, as soon as the seconds elapse, to snatch your silly, wholly unworthy gift back from the mermaid before she can drudge you too harshly. But the mermaid's lips curve upwards in a smile, and in a voice so full of gratitude it makes your heart throb. She says, "Oh my, did you make this for me?" "Well, yes," you reply, still feeling a little flustered. "You saw these flowers earlier when you went for a walk, and they made you think of her." "Not," you hasten to add, "that you think her beauty is comparable to these flowers. They are far inferior when contrasted with her good looks." You simply thought. You are unable to get the rest of this sentence out, however, because the mermaid interrupts you, not rudely, but with something resembling compassion. Perhaps she pities you. She must be able to hear how your voice is trembling. Can she also see the way your hands tremor? Oh dear. Faint heart never won the hands of a fair maiden, you know. What happened to all of your confidence? I think that your gift is a wonderful one. I did not at all expect it, but it is really pretty. You look at your feet, too shy to meet the mermaid's gaze. Then you say, very quietly, that you're glad that she thinks so, but she does not need to spare your ego. You have precious little of it left as it is. The mermaid seems touched by your shyness. Perhaps she likes her prey to be self-conscious because she smiles. I'm not simply saying things to spare your ego. I am not like that. Humans might spout platitudes as easily as they breathe air, but I do not compliment others unless I truly mean it. Is that not the point of speech, to have an honest dialogue with one another? If one party in the conversation is withholding their true intentions, then conversation is impossible. Playing games is a waste of my time, particularly given my time above the surface is so very limited. Oh. You blush at this more deeply still, and survey the mermaid beneath the full fringe of your eyelashes. Then she really does like it? Did I not just say that? You humans are so very funny, with all your second guessing. She was like that too in the beginning. She? My friend. The mermaid's answer is a simple one, but it makes your stomach clench regardless. Ah, yes, her friend. How could you have forgotten about her? She used to make me gifts too, you know, gifts like this one. She would pick flowers on the cliffs over there, where I could not tread. The mermaid gestures with one hand to the cliffs, which tower above the shore, tall and imposing as though to stab the sky above. And she would fashion them into crowns like this one, and bracelets. I was appreciative of her tokens, though she was similarly shy when she first presented them to me. She did not seem to think they were very much of her handiwork. She did not seem to think very much of her handiwork. You and her are remarkably similar, really. There's no guile in the mermaid's voice, but her words have rather taken the wind out of your sails. Of course the cowherd... the cowherd? Gave the mermaid gifts. Of course, that stupid cowherd. That damn farmer. Ew. Why would she not? The mermaid is beautiful. She's so very beautiful, like a tutelary goddess, she seems to invite tribute simply by existing. Were you more religious, or more irreligious maybe, you might even consider worshipping her. Though in essence, is that not what you were doing with your flower crown? How silly of you, to think that your idea was an original one. I might be accustomed to gifts, but it has been a long time since any human has bequeathed me with anything. This is a pleasant surprise. I'm truly thankful for your kindness, dear one. The mermaid leans forward on her rock so as to pluck the circlet from your fingers. Her benevolent smile all the while is unwavering. And now that I look at your gift more closely, I rather think it is of a superior quality to the gifts my old friend once gave me. Now this is enough to make you start, if the touch of a mermaid's fingers upon your own was not. Could your silly gift really be better than those she had once accepted? I think so. My friend's trinkets were all rather clumsy in execution, though I cherished them nonetheless. They were very precious to me. They did not last for very long, though, not when I took them with me to my home beneath the ocean. The water soon rend the fragile links between the flower stems asunder. Your diadem, however, seems more sturdy, but it is, by the same token, very delicate. You must be very good with your hands. You think back briefly on your disastrous sewing lessons in the past, of your numerous failed attempts to thread your needle while the other girls giggled at you, and you blush. You think that the mermaid's praise might be a touch too effusive. You tell the mermaid as much, but she only laughs. I do not think so. Now. The mermaid places your floral trinket upon her head, over her long fair hair, then surveys you in a manner which seems almost coquettish. What do you think? You think that the mermaid looks radiant, though that is less because of your gift, but because of her natural looks. You tell the mermaid this, though not in terms quite so glowing, and she giggles. You are selling yourself too short. I think your gift is lovely, really. The flowers rather match my hair. Yes, you answer with a nod of your head. That is why you picked those flowers. She is all you have been able to think of. I am glad that you have been thinking of me. I, in truth, have been thinking of you, though I did not wish to say this much. No? No, it would be embarrassing to confess how much I have been looking forward to our reunion if you did not feel similarly. I do not care to pine for humans from afar. But if you care for me as I do you, then it makes me feel less alone. You hasten to assure the mermaid, your face aflame. Do you ever stop blushing? Goodness gracious, that you do care for her, very much so. You've not known her for very long, but she has certainly made an impression upon you. She's such an easy conversationalist. Time simply slips by when you are together. And does not hurt, of course, because she is so pretty. I've heard it said once that my looks are rather appealing. My old friend was similarly complimentary. I cannot blame you humans for being so taken with me, when my form is so very graceful. Your legs seem rather cumbersome in comparison to my smooth, sleek tail. It must be so very depressing to lumber about on land as you do, living your days beneath the harsh sun and the cool and feeling moon. Sometimes I rather think I pity you. But the surface is a good deal brighter than it is beneath the ocean, and I will grant you that much. You agree with the mermaid, still feeling flushed, that there are some perks to having legs, an agreement which makes the mermaid giggle. I am certain that there are, though you cannot explore the ocean's depths as I can. I presume you have never tried it? You shake your head no. You've never thought to do so, largely because you have never been so close to the sea before, not in all of your life. You do not have much of opportunity for nautical exploration in the past. You were not allowed to go anywhere then, save to the local church. It was quite a lonely existence. Well now, that is a pity. You're kind enough to give me a gift, fashioned from flowers which grow where I cannot reach them, so perhaps I ought to return the favor. The favor? Yes, that is right. It would seem only fitting that I give you something which can only be found in the ocean's depths. Perhaps we could look at it as a form of cultural exchange. Oh no, you protest, your eyes wide. You couldn't possibly put such a burden upon her. You did not give her a gift after all because you want to receive anything in return. Anything other than her friendship, that is. Her conversation is more than enough to satisfy you. You do not need any physical presence on top of that. The mermaid does not seem convinced, however, by your naysaying. She raises one eyebrow, even this gesture is performed elegantly, and then says, "If my company is all it takes to satisfy you, then you are as easy to please indeed. But please, do not rebuff me. I am offering because I wish to do this. Remember what I said. I do not say things for the sake of it." Well, you murmur, if she really doesn't mind. Of course I do not mind. Now wait there. I will not be very long. It would be rude to abandon my new friend in the midst of a conversation. The mermaid turns her attention towards the clear mirror-like water which shimmers beneath the moonlight. Then she dives. Her body arcs elegantly through the air, her long stretched limbs cleaving through the surface of the water with nary a ripple. The mermaid's face is first submerged, then her torso, and at long last her tail. The water rushes forth to envelop her, as though it has been waiting for her. It subsumes her. It swallows her. Then she disappears from view. The mermaid's gone, but you are still there. Well, now what are you to do? There's nothing that can be done, you suppose, save waiting. You stand there for several moments, watching the black water lap against the shore. The breeze howls mournfully like a wounded animal as it buffets your hair and about your face, and your torn skirt around your legs. Time elapses, but how much of it? While you stand there fretfully, feeling as ostentatious as a maypole. When will the mermaid return? Will she ever return? You're starting to worry. Is that all you do? When... Look, over there. By the rocks upon which the mermaid once sat, the water is rippling. It looks as though your new friend has returned. The mermaid pulls herself onto the rocks, using a surprising amount of upper body strength, and smiles at you. I apologize for the wait. I hope I did not make you worry. You were worrying, but you are not half so as honest as the mermaid. Mermaids might be spoken of as devious tricksters who lure sailors to their deaths, but they are, in actuality, very sincere. They are much more sincere than most humans. Perhaps that is why your kind fears them so. There are few creatures who inhabit this world whose capacity for lying is greater than your own. You tell the mermaid that you are not worrying, and she answers with a wry smile. I'm not so sure about that. Ah, the mermaid is wiler than you are giving her credit for. She's seen straight through you. But no matter. It took me some time, but I was finally able to retrieve a gift for you. I do not have the means to turn this into a pretty piece of jewelry, as you did with the flowers, but I wish to give it to you nonetheless. I do hope that you like it. The mermaid leans forward, then holds her gift out towards you. Her slender fingers unfurl it like the petals of a flower being folded back, and... oh, what a pretty gift it is. The ocean might be dark and deep, cold and unfeeling, but the same cannot be said for the object which glitters upon the mermaid's palm. She has fished from the depths of the water a beautiful shell, one which shimmers prismatic colors beneath the moon's light, much like the scales on her tail. The shell is so very pretty, it quite takes your breath away. You look at the shell worriedly, your teeth biting in your lower lip. That is a bad habit, you know. You will make yourself bleed, then ask the mermaid if this is really alright. Would a gift like this not be wasted on you? Of course not. I want you to have this shell because it makes me think of you. Oops. Sorry, I hit something. There we go. Okay. It does? How so? I thought it should be obvious. The shell is a lovely find. As are you. Oh. Did she just call you lovely? Surely you must have misheard her. You can scarcely believe it. It is an awful lot for you to take in, but... Now, why are you gawping? Gawping? I mean like that. The wind will change, you know, and then your face will be stuck like that, which would be quite the shame. You would not waste your good looks, which, for a maiden such as yourself, would be nothing short of a tragedy. It seems as though the mermaid really does think you are as pretty after all. The mermaid with her smooth skin and her fair, fair hair. You can scarcely believe it. There's something almost laughable about the mermaid's compliments. How could she call you pretty when her looks are so immediately, obviously superior? Tongue-tied, you look at your feet. You do not know how to reply to the mermaid. You have half a mind to refute her words, to tell her that you are not that pretty, not really, but you fear that might look rude. You do not want to rebuff the mermaid's well wishes. There's nothing for it, then, but to take the shell which the mermaid retrieved from the ocean's depths for you. You do not think that you are worthy of it, but neither do you want to refuse it. Now, that is a surprise, the mermaid says, amused, as you reach for the shell. I did not think you would be bold enough to take it, not without more coaxing on my part. You have exceeded my expectations. What a good girl you are. Your heart flutters with this praise, and it flutters all the more when your trembling fingers brush against a mermaid's palm. She presses the shell into your skin, and your own fingers tighten about it. The shell is sharp and pointed, and it digs uncomfortably into your skin. It hurts. But there's pleasure in the pain. This too feels like a gift from the mermaid. I think we're developing something here. I don't know if it's good. You do not want to spurn it. Even pain can be a precious thing when dealt by the one by whom you care for. What? By one whom you care for. I don't know about this. You never knew that before. You hold the shell to your heart, which is beating in a regular rhythm, and look at the mermaid. Then, very softly, you thank her. It is quite all right. It seems only fair after you've shared part of your world with me. I wish to share part of my world with you too. Humans cannot normally descend beneath the ocean's depths, and even if they do, they cannot remain there for very long. You are far too fragile. Would that I could, I would bring you with me, to my underwater kingdom where we might be together. The mermaid's melodic voice trails away, suffused with something resembling melancholia. She sighs. Then she shakes her head and smiles. But this will have to do for the present. Please, take good care of that shell. Look at it from time to time and think of me. That would make me very happy indeed. The days pass following this nightly encounter with your aquatic acquaintance with an almost intolerable slowness. You endure the hours of sunlight as best as you can by going for long, bracing walks amidst the heather, foraging for berries and fruits among the hedgerows. You even, when you have mustered up enough courage, take an old fishing line covered in a fisherman's cottage and try your luck by the shore. Your initial attempts at angling are without success, but as the time passes, your proficiency in the art grows. Sometime after you take up your rod, you find that you're able to catch the odd fish here and there. Small, scrawny things, mostly, but the meat goes a ways to bolstering your rudimentary diet. You teach yourself how to remove the scales of these saltwater fish that you have captured and how to gut them. You learn, too, how to cook them over a simple fire. Sometimes you skewer the fish of yours in spikes and roast them slowly, innards and all. You are able to sustain yourself well enough during the day, though the faint pangs of hunger you experience never quite go away. Your physical discomfort, however, is secondary when compared to your desire to visit the mermaid. Your days might be dull and drab, but your nights, comparatively, are made of magic. It is only during the night that the mermaid emerges from beneath the waves, and when she does, you hurry to her side. You have never before had anybody who took such great interest in you, not until you met the mermaid. That is why she has grown to mean so very much to you. She is the first friend you have ever had. But if you do not temper your obsession accordingly, I fear she may very well be your last. You care little for the potential danger, however, which lurks beneath your interactions with the mermaid. You want only to show the mermaid how much you value her, and you hope within time that she will come to value you too. If you keep seeing her, surely she will stop thinking of her human friend whom she lost so suddenly. That is your plan, at least. Fortunately, your self-serving wish to grow closer to the mermaid seems close to being granted. Your nightly conversations when you greet her come easily enough, the words tumbling from your mouth like thread. You've grown rather comfortable in the mermaid's company, and she yours. She must have, for it is not long after you bequeathed your diadem of flowers to the mermaid that she looks at you, then posits a curious question. I was wondering, dear one, whether you would mind indulging me. I know this might not seem like an appealing proposition, but I thought it would be remiss of me not to ask. I've seen some of your world, for I have sat on the shore for many, many nights hence, but you have seen nothing of mine. It seems unfair that I should know some of the world that you inhabit while you know so little of my own. So would you care to come with me beneath the ocean's waves? There's much that I wish to show you, sights that cannot, I fear, be accurately represented in language alone. Words can be awfully stifling when it comes to the communication of experiences such as this. It's quite the florid speech, but at the heart of it beats a simple enough request. The mermaid wishes to bring you beneath the ocean's surface so that she might show you her home. You are flattered initially that the mermaid wishes to show you something so personal, but after this flutter of flattery, there comes an uncomfortable sense of unease. The mermaid might feel at home beneath the water's surface, but what of you? You are a human girl with two awkward, ungainly legs, and you are not made to live under the sea. You frown, and mistrustfully you look at the ocean. It is late at night, and as it always is when you speak to the mermaid, and the water does not look blue. It appears instead to be obsidian. The waves moan as they break against the rocks, which jut out of the shore like a mighty dragon's bones. They sound angry, violent almost. Salty sea spray arcs through the air, caught in the moonlight. It shimmers sharp as knives. Hesitantly, you take a step back. You're a little afraid of the sea. It is so relentless, so deep and all-consuming, it reminds you of a hungry monster. You have never submerged yourself beneath the ocean before. You never had the opportunity. You do not even know how to swim. You are fearful for your own safety should you consent to dive beneath the undulating meniscus of the water, but... Do not look so frightened, dear one. I will be with you, and I will not let you go. You have my word. You see, and that's dangerous. What do you mean by that? You mean you're gonna hold on to us and potentially drown us? Because that's what it sounds like. And if she wants us to see her home, then she has a better chance of doing that when it's, like, sunny out. Like, you know? Because if the water looks black and it's at night, we're not going to be able to see her home, you know? She's going to drown us. Shyly, you glance at the mermaid. She's still perched upon a rock, her hands folded neatly upon her. Well, she does not have a lap, not really. You're still afraid, but the mermaid's reassurance does help. Has she not told you numerous times that she is nothing if not honest? Oh yeah, I believe her. I 100% believe that she will not let us go. And that's the problem. You trust her not to break her word. She will not leave you beneath the waves, abandoning you to a cruel, lonely fate to become the food of so many fish. Of that you are certain. That is why, despite all of your misgivings, you find yourself nodding your head. If that is what she wants, then you will accompany her. You are interested, too, in what lies beneath the ocean's surface, out of sight. Oh, I knew that you would agree. Thank you so very much for humoring me. I will endeavor to make these next few moments the most memorable you have ever experienced. Now, would you care to come with me? I shall be your guide. The ocean's depths might be dark, but I will not let you get away from me. I promise. The mermaid extends her hands towards you, a hand which seems to cut through the moonlight, just like a blade. Moon celestial rays play against a mermaid's upturned palm so that it shimmers. The mermaid's hair, too, is glowing, backlit by Selen's glow, so that she almost looks like an angel. Her beauty is such that for a few moments you cannot do anything, neither step towards her nor back away. You feel frozen in place, rooted into the sand like some shore-growing tree. You still do not understand why the mermaid has taken such an interest in you, but an old adage does occur to you. You ought not look a gift horse in the mouth, or ignore the pleas of a graceful, dignified mermaid. You reach out, your arm shaking like a skinny bough of an ancient tree, and find the mermaid's hand with your own. The mermaid's fingers curl about your own. Her nails, only now you notice how sharp they are, digging into your skin. Though the mermaid herself looks very soft, her grip is surprisingly strong. You do not think if she willed it, you would be able to get away from her. But why would you want to? She does not mean you any harm. Now, let us be on our way. There's much to see in my underwater kingdom. I cannot wait to show it to you. The mermaid turns toward the ocean, as do you. A brief moment passes, one during which you allow yourself to stand there, your hand claimed by the mermaids as the wind buffets your hair and your skirts. And you inhale deeply. The smell of the salt is heavy on the back of your nostrils, so much so that you could choke on it. It is not particularly a pleasant smell, but you've grown accustomed to it after living in your tumble-down cottage by the shore. It is nostalgic almost. You have a vague feeling, as you stand on the precipice between your world and that of your aquatic companions, that you might never again be able to smell the salt in the air like this. This is just a silly supposition, though. You're being foolish. The mermaid will return you back to the surface in due course, will she not? You hope that she will. You, unlike her, cannot breathe underwater. You open your mouth, meaning to ask the mermaid about this fact, but you are not afforded the opportunity to speak. The mermaid has already shifted, her fingers still entwined about yours. She dives forwards, her body slicing through the surface of the water like a knife, and you, inexorably, are dragged along with her. The water rushes forwards to meet you in a sudden, shocking rush. The mermaid's descent might be graceful, but yours is anything but. You do not know how to position your legs, and your limbs feel awfully ungainly. The shock of the water as it touches your skin, meanwhile, is intense. You did not think that the water would be this cold. No, it is not just cold, it is freezing. It feels as though all the warmth has been sapped of your skin. If your head was not already beneath the ocean's waves, you would gasp from it. You do not gasp, however, you cannot. You have already been submerged. Your body no longer feels as though it is your own. Your hair is unspooling behind you like thread, and your skirt is fluttering. Your body rocks to and fro, as though being soothed in a mother's arms. It is a curious feeling, but it is not wholly unpleasant. If only it were not so cold down here beneath the ocean's depths that you might find it relaxing. It is dark under the surface of the water, yes, but you have not ventured so very far, not yet at least, that the glow of the moon cannot penetrate its depths. Your surroundings are illuminated, though faintly, and thanks to this precious illumination, you can see the schools of fish swimming about you. The scales all glisten as they arc through the waves like rainbows. They do not look like life forms. They appear, instead, to your fairy tale-addled mind, to be ancient relics brought to life through some strange arcane sorcery. They are pretty. No, the word is not significant enough. They are beautiful. You did not know, as you stood upon the shore, how very full of life it was beneath the water's surface. You did not know, either, how very beautiful these aquatic denizens of the deep were. You have never seen fish like these before, not in real life. You have memories, vague hazy memories, of dissecting a fish once, in a particularly gruesome biology lesson. That feels like a very long time ago now. You would far rather think on your present than dwell upon the past. But the seconds pass, and as they do, the mermaid continues to swim, leading you deeper and deeper into the ocean's depths. While once you were close enough to the surface that the moon's light could still slice through the waves, now is so very dark that you could scarcely see. Your vision is beginning to blur, and you can feel an uncomfortable pressure weighing down on your inert body. You have descended, you realize, with a ripple of anxiety, too deep. Humans were not meant to descend to these depths. The water, once cold, now feels freezing. It caresses every inch of your exposed flesh, as if to sap what little warmth you might still possess. You shiver, and when you do, you swear you can hear teeth chattering, despite the water which stops your ears. The water is stopping up your nostrils. There's so much water down here, at the bottom of the ocean. It is endless. The mermaid might be able to breathe underwater, but you are not so very fortunate. Your body is less sophisticated than hers, and it requires oxygen with which to furnish your body with continued strength, not salt water. The thought of trying to inhale the endless water which surrounds you makes you shudder. You'd rather not attempt it. You do not have gills. When will the mermaid take you back to the surface? Surely she must know that you have fast begun to near your limit. You have been underwater for too long, and it is too cold, and it is so dark now in any event that you cannot see much of anything. The joy you once felt during your underwater adventure has begun to dissipate, just like the last of the oxygen you still possess. It is time to return to the surface now, but how are you going to communicate this to the mermaid? You cannot speak, and she's not looking at you. She's staring instead, fixedly, at something beyond your comprehension, something far away, perhaps, in the underwater gloom that you cannot see. Not knowing what else to do, you try to pull your arm free from the mermaid's grasp. You hope that this will signal to her that she's grown too carried away in her endeavors, that she ought to cut short your expedition and return you to the shore. The mermaid does not react, however, to your attempts to escape her. Her grip does not slacken, as you had hoped, from about your wrist. In fact, it is quite the opposite. It feels as though she's gripping you more tightly than she was, as if to prevent your escape, but why would she do that? You tap on the mermaid's shoulder to get her attention, a gesture which prompts her at long last to turn. Her fair hair billows about her, suspended in the water like a shroud. Then she says in that calm, measured, incredibly reasonable voice of hers, "Yes, dear one, what is it?" If you could, you would open your mouth to reply to her, but alas, you are a human girl and not a fish, and you cannot speak underwater. Any attempt to do so would accomplish naught save filling your pretty little mouth with water. The mermaid really ought to have considered that before she started to ask you questions. But your comfort seems to be the last thing on the mermaid's mind. She smiles at you gently, delicately, and then says, "I understand. Being underwater for so long must be beginning to take its toll. Do your lungs feel like iron? Are they heavy?" So she does understand your woes. You might not be able to speak, suspended as you are in the dark, but murky depths, but communication is not wholly impossible. You nod your head empathetically, hoping that this will be enough to make your distress apparent, but yes, that will happen, is a natural part, or so I have heard, of drowning. Not that I have ever had the opportunity to experience it for myself. I am incapable, you see, of meeting my demise in such a manner. Now, what was that? What could she mean? I mean, the mermaid answers, can she read minds? That this was a calculated act upon my part. Forgive me, dear one, but the moment you consented to sinking beneath the water with me, your fate was sealed. Your lungs will be flooded with water soon enough. Then you will die, and it is not a pretty way to go. You needn't worry about your corpse bloating, disfiguring, or being eaten by fish, though. I will take very good care of it, I promise. In death, you will look very lovely, almost angelic. Is that not what you always wanted? You do not know what the mermaid thinks it is, exactly, that you want, but you think she is laboring under some severe misunderstandings. You would like to try and correct her. You do not want to die, but of course you cannot open your mouth. What a pity. Well, at least it saves me the effort of transcribing your dying pleas. I doubt that they would be particularly interesting. If you want to know why I'm doing this, then I would not mind obliging. I have no secrets to keep from you. Other than the secret, perhaps, that upon your first meeting, she has nursed within her cold fish's heart the desire to bring about your watery murder. You might have liked to know that before you agreed to sink beneath the ocean surface with her. I'm only doing this because I have no choice. The other girl I liked, after all, the one whom I adored, disappeared. She went away and I was never again afforded the opportunity to see her. You remind me of that girl. Though you did not look much alike, you did not act very alike either. But you are both humans who, despite your delicacies, have no shortage of determination. How your kind is able to live with your lifespans when your lifespans are so very short and you're susceptible to so very many diseases is a mystery to me. Though my lifespan far eclipses your own, and I am far sturdier, I cannot help but marvel at the tenacity of you humans. I know that if I were as fragile as you are, I would not be able to exist in this world. I would be far too afraid. I would see my own death lurking behind every corner. Just as you can see your own death looming before you. It is not so very far away now. You can feel it coming closer and closer and closing its cold, icy fingers around your throat. You humans are incredible. I cannot help but respect you, weak and pitiful though you are. She respects your tenacity so very much she wishes to extinguish it? That does not make very much sense. Perhaps my words are confusing you, but it makes perfect sense to me, at least. My beloved cohort left me. I do not know where she went or what happened to her. Perhaps she was murdered by bandits. Perhaps she contracted a horrible disease. Perhaps she simply fell and cracked her skull. I do not know, and I will never know. For many, many days and many, many nights, her disappearance tormented me. I could not help but wonder how it came about, but there were so many possibilities I could not imagine them all. This thought terrified me. It still does. That is why I'm going to take you to my underwater kingdom with me. There we can be together forever. Nothing will be able to tear us apart then. I will brush your hair and I will dress you in the finest pearls found from the bottom of the seabed. It will be lovely, much, much lovelier than any sort of miserable existence you might be able to eke out above the water. In my citadel you will never be attacked by bandits nor ravaged by disease, and you'll be quite safe, I promise. Quite safe, yes, and quite dead too, surely. Well, yes, that is the only unfortunate aspect of my plan. She considers your death nothing more than a mere misfortune? The mermaid might be surprisingly cold after all. But perhaps you ought to have predicted this. She is part fish. Are fish not cold-blooded like lizards? You probably learnt this at some point during biology class, but your lessons are beginning to feel very faint and far away now. Your body is beginning to fail you. You cannot take much more of this. It is necessary sacrifice, though. If we are to be happy, I'm doing this, you know, for both our sakes. I do apologize for tricking you, but please, try to understand. I really have been lonely. You'd be much more inclined to sympathize with her, perhaps, if her loneliness was not ushering you into your inevitable demise. But you were too preoccupied with your dwindling reserves of oxygen to feel much in the way of anything for your captor. You can feel the pressure of the water against your eyes. They are beginning to ache. Perhaps you're crying. You do not know. The water masks much of your anguish. You've been drifting underwater for almost 3 minutes. That is a remarkably long time to go without any air. Your vision is beginning to cloud. Your surroundings already look darker still, unpleasant and obscure, and not at all like the paradise the mermaid promised you. The pain of being suffocated slowly is far stronger, far more oppressive than the sensation of the mermaid's hand wound tightly around your arm. Is there no escape for you? The prognosis, I am sorry to say, is grim. Your fate, as the mermaid said, really was sealed the moment you met her, luxuriating on those rocks beneath the moonlight. But you'll forgive me if my sympathy is limited. You did bring this upon yourself, you know. You reap what you sow, and in your case you made a series of bad decisions which led to your untimely demise. Now, what do you want to do? Oh boy, let me save, actually. That's what I want to do. Because I don't know how many options we have left. Will you accept this fate of yours and rest in peace, or will you try to fight against it? I mean, let's fight against it, but again, I don't know what else we can do. Ah, I like that look on your face. His look full of determination, the self-same determination which first prompted me to take an interest in you. I can tell that you are not happy with this ending. You did not come all this way, after all, to drown. That is quite the indecorous demise, regardless of how many fine stones and shells a mermaid means to twine through your hair and after your death. If you wish to carve out a new story for yourself, then I would be only too happy to indulge you. Just try not to get on the bad side. Or the good side of any homicidal naiads this time. The drowning of fair maidens is something of a cliché. Your fate is once again in your hands. Now, I wonder, which path will you take? Oh, that sucks. We have to give up? So, you've come back here, have you? That does not mean much. That does not come as much of a surprise. Though presented with 3 potential paths, it is not as though traversing any of them would have had any particular impact upon your ultimate fate. In the end, you were always destined to return here. Did you really think you had a choice? How hopelessly naive of you. I thought that you were smarter than that. Your breath, which once escaped your lips in sharp, ragged gasps, is now on the verge of petering out altogether. Your lungs feel deflated as though they have been punctured. Your blood is rushing through your temples in a heady, overwhelming surge. Your stomach, meanwhile, has twisted itself into knots. Your body feels heavy, your legs in particular. They no longer wish to obey you. You take a stumbling step towards forwards and your foot gets caught in the tree root. You are certain that you passed this route once already, and that you sidestepped it. But perhaps your memory is beginning to fail you, just like the rest of your body. You gasp, surprised, and pitch forward as dull and senseless like a sack full of potatoes. Your arm hits the ground with a crack, one which makes you cry out in pain. Tears begin to bead on your eyes, wet and salty, tears which you cannot stymie, I don't know. You're not as resilient as the gravedigger, nor as carefree as the princess. If you lived underwater like the mermaid, then nobody at the very least would be able to tell that you were crying, but you did not, and I can. Believe me, I can. Your arm aches dreadfully, but at least you can still feel it. Your poor feet, meanwhile, have gone quite numb. You have tried to stand, but had you the energy, but you know, as you sit there dazed, that this would be a futile effort. You cannot stand, not any longer. It hurts too much. You really have been through a lot tonight, haven't you? I fear I have not been very kind to you. But you ought to be accustomed to hardship. Why, then, are you crying? You always have been a crybaby. That is why they teased you so much. Is because they knew that they would be guaranteed a reaction. You are very predictable. Even now, after you tried to borrow my power for your own purposes, you have not changed at all. As you sit there sobbing, you hear, or you think you can hear, footsteps approaching you. There to your right is the snapping of a twig, to your left the telltale rustle of leaves. Your every sense feels razor sharp, honed to a knife's point by anxiety. You are so panicked you feel as though you are going to be sick. If you want to vomit, then why not? There's no shame in it. There's nobody here to judge you, nobody but me. I've always been here, you know. I will always be here, no matter how fast you try to run, or how far. Did you really think you could escape me? Poor, sweet child. Poor little fool. I did tell you, did I not? A contract with a witch is binding. No amount of physical distance between the both of us could ever sever it. I told you I would not let you be lonely, and I meant it. But I have had rather enough of these little games. It's time for me to collect my collateral. Oh. A soft gasp escapes your throat as you feel arms wind their way around your back. Naturally, you know whose arms these are. They are mine. I've been watching you all night, but this is the first time I've reached out to you in so direct a manner. Did you not expect me to be so forward? I can hear your heart fluttering in your chest. It is beating very quickly, like a startled rabbit's. Your breaths are short and sharp. It is a cold night, and though I am holding you, you are still shaking. I wish you not to tremble so. Everybody fears the unknown, but we are not strangers. We have spoken before, have we not, when you first called me forth from the ether using that book you found in the library? You were so desperate enough then to turn to the occult for help. You pleaded with me to use my magic for your behalf. You begged me. You implored and you entreated and you weeded and you whined, and though I had some reservations, you forced my hand. I had no choice, not in the face of your desperation. You did not want to be lonely anymore. You wanted to have a friend, somebody who would always be there for you, no matter what. You wanted to have somebody to love you. Is that not what you demanded of me? Is that not what I have given you? You might think me wicked, but I think you are being awfully cruel to yourself, to run from me after I made all of your wishes come true. I did think, you know, about punishing you for running away from me. I thought of poking out your eyes so that you might never see anybody other than me. I thought of cutting off your long, lovely hair so that nobody might ever think you beautiful but me. I thought of breaking your legs so that you might never be able to escape from me. I turned all these intriguing ideas over in my mind, but I am a merciful witch. Though you hurt me, I do not wish to hurt you. You asked, after all, that I love you, and that is what I did. I have drowned you in my love. I have buried you beneath my love. I've swallowed you with my love. You have always been a sad, lonely girl, one who has been starved of affection. Nobody has ever cared for you. Your life has been a barren, empty wasteland, one devoid of any fonder feelings. That is why I had to drown you, you see. That is why I had to bury you. It is why I had to swallow you. In the end, I was doing you a favor. I was doing it all for you. In that sense, you are very lucky. Don't you know that? There are very few people in this world who have had the privilege of being loved to the brink of insanity quite this many times in one night. There are few people in this world who can claim to have been loved by a witch. You have experienced so much love, it ought to have slaked even your unquenchable thirst. You know now what it feels like to be adored. I've more than upheld my end of the bargain. Now I think it is time that you do the same. From this night forth, you and I will always be together. Then I should be able to love you endlessly. You will never be lonely again. Well, I mean, at least we won't be lonely. It gets so lonely here. Anything else? Or just a title screen? Okay, that's it. What's the extras though? Gallery? Music? Notes? Okay. Well, we've seen all that before. Notes? Biggest inspiration is... Okay. The biggest inspiration behind It Gets So Lonely Here was the two-part novel series The Orphan's Tales by Catherine Valenti. The Orphan's Tales are an interesting couple of novels which takes a lot of cues from fairy tales and folklore across the world. These stories contain dragons, witches, werewolves, genies, mermaids, but they aren't told in a linear what? Oh, good God, this is a lot. Well, if you play the game, you can read this. I don't know. My throat's kind of dead now. Alright. So that was It Gets So Lonely Here. That was cool. I liked all the characters. They're all interesting. The main character is definitely a little stupid, but I mean, I guess she is really desperate to have a friend or whatever. Lover, I don't know. I mean, I wish the witch was like not insane, because then she would at least have one friend, but it seems her definition of loving someone is a bit too extreme, and I think that's where the problem lies. It sounds like every way she wants to love us ends in our death, so if she could just tone it down a notch, I think things would be okay. We just have to have a conversation, be like, hey, take it down to like a level 5 instead of a level 10, you know, and I think we'd have a great relationship. But that was cool. I think I liked, I feel like if you had to actually end up with like one of these 3 people, I feel like the mermaid wouldn't be as bad, because like with the gravedigger girl, you get buried alive, and that's kind of terrifying, because it's kind of a slow death. I mean, you're still suffocating, and drowning is also kind of similar, I guess, but I feel like drowning is a faster way to go. And the princess, she like literally starts eating you alive, so that's just a complete no-go. So I feel like if you're gonna die, drowning might be the most easiest way to go out of all these. I mean, maybe you'd freeze to death before you drown, like, you know, you get like, you kind of fall asleep before you go. Although I suppose that might be the same for suffocating. I don't know. But that's all for this one, so let me know what you think of the game down in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. This is Casper Kuma, over and out.